On behalf of Professor Akintoye, we've spoken before.
Yes.
Yes. I'm speaking on behalf of the Yoruba indigenous people of Nigeria, and I'm very happy to be here and to be in the presence of the governor and Senator Wolf. Thank you guys so much for being here.
My name is Dr. Uzo Eric Chukwu. Dr. Uzo Eric Chukwu. I'm a member of the AVID, serving as the chairman for ad hoc committee.
What is AVID?
American Veterans of Igbo Descent.
Oh,
That's
okay.
what AVID stands for.
Okay.
I'm very, very happy to be invited to this and in the presence of our Excellency, who is doing a very marvelous job advocating for the freedom of everybody, to include those that cannot talk for themselves.
And where are you based in the United States?
I'm based in Virginia. I've worked for the Department of Defense for 22 years.
I see.
Yes.
I would love to have your card if you have it, or contact it. Maybe Steve can give it to me, because it's very important for us to be in touch with the diaspora here and people who follow Nigeria.
I would love to do that.
Okay.
I'm an alumni of George Washington University.
Uh-huh.
I accompany the governor of Benue State.
Welcome.
Thank you, ma'am. My name is Ambassador Uche Ajulu Okeke. I retired as Consul General Ambassador, Nigeria and South Africa, having done 22 years in Nigerian Foreign Service before I retired. I fell out with government in Nigeria because of these exclusivist policies. And I joined the other side. And I'm a very big admirer of His Excellency Governor Ortom. And I also did I collaborate extensively with Dr. Stephen.
I'm not doctor yet, please.
Take
it. Thank you.
I represent the other side.
Thank you.
I am IPOB. I am whatever it is, the other side. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Dr. Hyginus Ofo. I'm the PRO of the American Veterans of Igbo Descent, AVID.
Okay.
I served in the United States military for 5 years in Operation Iraqi Freedom, Operation Enduring Freedom. And I currently work with the Department of Interior, Bureau of Reclamation, as a water rights engineer for the Indian community in New Mexico. So I'm here I'm happy to be invited here in the presence of the Excellency, the Governor of Benue State, and the Mayor of Woodland, New Jersey. Is here also with us. So thank you for what you are doing for us, speaking for people that cannot speak for themselves, because our people are in their need. They are suffering.
Thank you for your service.
No, but they couldn't speak for themselves. Yeah. And that's the way. Thank you very much.
What, should we start again?
So I'm Sean Nelson, legal counsel for global religious freedom at ADF International, the international branch of Alliance Defending Freedom. We support lawyers worldwide who are working on religious freedom cases, including in Nigeria, especially in the north. We support a number of cases there, and we do a number of policy initiatives here, including with. And then this is Mariana Gubia. She's one of our interns right now with our global religious freedom team for the summer from Brazil.
Glad to be here. Welcome.
I'm Ray Jones. I'm a production associate here at Hudson, and I'll be running the Zoom call.
Thanks, Ray.
I'm Joe Nduka, the Vice President of American Veterans of Igbo Descent.
Okay. And are you also from Virginia, or?
No, I'm from Florida.
Okay. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hi. Hello. My name is Joseph Chukwuege. I'm from New Jersey, and I'm the mayor of Woodland, New Jersey.
Oh, great. Okay. Thank you, Your Honor.
Nice to meet you. My name is Dr. Sylvester Onyia. I'm the president of American Veterans of Igbo Descent, AVID. I reside in New Mexico.
Oh, in New Mexico. Okay, great. Thank you very much. Yes. Well, Governor, you can see we have a number of people on the connecting through the internet as well. And maybe we can, it's a little awkward to be trying to moderate this from remotely. So We'll get to Q&A shortly, but if you could just give your message to us. We've been following Nigeria and with great sense of horror to see this great country becoming so dysfunctional and violent. And so we would love to know how we can help at this point. And what are what is your recommendations and any other points you'd like to make?
Thank you very much. I'm Samuel Ortom, the governor of Benue State. I was first elected governor in 2015 and re-elected again in 2019 for a second term. Before then, I've been a grassroots politician. I've held several party offices from local, state, and federal level. And I was also a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria during President Goodluck Jonathan's term. I'm very, very grateful and appreciative to this opportunity to discuss with you at this level. How many minutes do I have?
Well, I think if you could give a message or in 5 to 10 minutes, and then we can just have a discussion.
Have a discussion,
Yeah.
Okay, so the truth of the matter, as of today, Nigeria is under siege. And that is why we're here to also try to change the narrative about what is going on in Nigeria, because people who are privileged have given a wrong narrative. The truth of the matter is that there is an agenda being propelled by the current federal government led by our president back home in Nigeria to Fulanize. That is the main agenda, but they're using Islam as a shield. But for some of us who believe in justice, equity, and fairness, and that is what we stand for. We stand with the majority of the people back home in my state and other parts of our country, Nigeria. And we believe in one Nigeria. We believe in the constitution of our country, and all that we're asking for is let there be the rule of law in our country, because we believe that if that is done, most of these agitation will not be there if for any reason any part of our country believes that they can be on their own. They should also have the liberty, and there's a process through the law that this can be achieved. But currently, we are going back to the olden days where we have laws, and they have no respect for rule of law. They only did what they wanted. And so the current government is out to execute an agenda that was brought into Nigeria in 1800, led by Othman Danfodio, who wanted to ensure a jihad to Islamize a country, Nigeria, and also Fulanize, take over. And that is the style of what we're seeing today. For several years now, people have been under torture. My local government, my own state, have been at the center of attraction, because right from 1804, our people in Benue State were able to repel and stop the jihad that started from Sokoto, and the agenda was to dip the Quran into the sea and thus taking over the entire country. And so there is a renewed effort as of today to take over our land. And that is why the Fulanis in Nigeria are allowed to carry sophisticated weapons like AK-47, AK-49, and other explosives, and they get to communities, destroy their land, destroy churches, destroy clinics, destroy schools, and destroy all their homes and render them homeless. Those who are not lucky are killed, and the killing has continued. In my own state, for instance, currently I have more than 1.5 million IDPs staying in not even standard camps, primary schools that we designated as camps. And they are there with their families, and those who attempted to go back to their ancestral homes were killed. They never came back alive. And the killings has continued up till yesterday. I was given a report about 5 people were killed in my own local government, and 3 women were kidnapped, and 2 men were taken away by these terrorists. And the worst thing is that government, because of their action and inaction, convinces me that they are complicit. And that is what is happening, because they are given a deaf ear on what is happening. Several attempts of assassination have been done on my personality, even as governor. And reports have been made, people were arrested, Fulani men with AK-47, and no prosecution whatsoever. After 1 year, I was told that they were freed. And so this is the dilemma that we are in today. The fight against the Igbo nation and the Yoruba nation is another major point of concern. These are major ethnic groups in Nigeria. Nigeria is a multicultural and ethnic country of over 250 different ethnic groups. But the Yorubas are major ethnic groups in Nigeria. The Igbos are also major ethnic groups. And these are the people that also drive the economy. For us in Benue State, we are farmers. And this siege is not just in Benue State, it has extended to Yoruba land, it has extended to the Igbo, it has extended to other parts of North Central Zone. And completely, we have been denied the opportunity to defend ourselves because the security apparatus of our country is controlled by the federal government. And the federal government deliberately has a plan of supporting them to Fulanize and to Islamize. They have appointed only those who have allegiance to them or they are Fulanis controlling this. And apart from that, the level of nepotism in Nigeria today, where all sensible and serious offices are given only to Fulanis and their allegiance, becomes a very great point of concern. Now, where they are leading us, because the people are helpless and we're getting to a point that all of us will be desperate, because it is said that self-preservation is the first law of nature. We cannot continue to allow the Fulanis to continue to kill us and occupy our land, and it's getting to a level where the entire country and my state will stage a revolt, and I can see that it's going to be bloody because lawlessness will definitely bring in anarchy as it is, if nothing is done. And so we are concerned, the people are hungry in the land, there is no freedom of religion. Some people are afraid, especially the Christian, because it is a complete jihad that has been launched against Nigeria as today. So churches are burned, and some people are afraid to attend churches and worship their God. It becomes a very big problem. Now, my take on this matter is that yes, it is a Nigerian problem. Something can be done by the American government. Not really, we're not asking for weapons to go and fight back, because we can always find our own local way of doing it. But America is a very big voice, and they have something to say. to put pressure on the federal government to try to do something better. After all, the presidential system of government we are practicing today in Nigeria was borrowed from America. So why can't our leadership also copy whatever America is doing here back home by ensuring equity, fairness, and justice, by ensuring the rule of law, and by ensuring freedom? This is what we're asking for. If that is done, a lot of things will definitely change. And in putting pressure on the federal government is to tell them to ensure the rule of law in our country. Let those people who are responsible for bringing hardship and pains and killings to our people be apprehended, and let them be prosecuted according to the laws of the land, and let them pay for the sins that they are committing against our people back home. And if there is anything, because as it is, the US aid is a major humanitarian support for the rest of the world. In Nigeria, their presence is noticed there. What we have seen, the injustice we have seen today, the US aid is only providing support for the Northeast, the Maiduguri, where the allies of these Fulani people are about Boko Haram. Back home in Benue State, containing with over 1.5 million IDPs. It's not a simple thing. And federal government have shown a blind eye to the plight of our people. The children who are suffering, they are out of school, and several things. And for me in Benue State, because most of our people are peasant farmers, and they are into polygamy. And you can imagine somebody with 4 wives living in an IDP camp that is open, and several other people are there. You can imagine the inconvenience there's no privacy whatsoever, and your children are staying there, your wives are staying there, and others are also staying there, which becomes a very difficult thing. So the other point is to appeal to the US government to look beyond Borno axis, the Northeast, where Boko Haram, yes, I agree that they need support, but it should be extended to other parts of country, Benue State, and other parts of North Central Zone, and even in the Southeast, where currently, because of the injustice and the agitation of IPOD, you see the whole attention of the Nigerian military and the police have been channeled to the Southeast. And the way the military do their things, without proper investigation, they have ravaged several communities in the Southeast. The same thing in Yoruba land. They have ravaged a lot of communities. After the Fulanis have done their havoc, the military still go there, destroy lands, and kill people. No one is apprehending, no one is being held accountable for what is happening. So it's a big problem. And if the US government can draw the attention of the federal government to know that there are also treaties to several humanitarian organizations which US is also part of. If they can restrain themselves and ensure the rule of law and freedom for everyone to listen. And above all, the Fulanis that are all over Nigeria today, ravaging the country, they display sophisticated weapons openly, and they go ravage communities and drive them out of their ancestral homes. Government should not allow them to have this support. They should arrest them. They should disarm these Fulani men and allow them. And again, this is not a recommendation, but something I omitted to say. The Fulanization agenda of the Fulanis, using Islam, and the other part is using open grazing of their cattle as another way of shielding their real agenda. This has been going on for years. We in Benue State, when we saw the evil plan of the Fulanis, we decided, as people who believe in the rule of law and due process, to enact a law, which the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria allows us to enact a law prohibiting open grazing, because we have discovered that ranching remains the global best practice, and we have discovered that ranching can solve the problem of the so-called farmers' herders crisis. It is not farmers' herders crisis. It is a deliberate attempt to take over our land that they are doing. So these two, if we can prevail on federal government to adopt the global best practice, because Nigeria is not static. From 1950 to today, the difference is so clear in the terms of demography. The population of Nigeria was less than 50 million, precisely about 46 or something million people. Today, as I talk to you in 2022, we are over 200 million people. So it is impossible for the forest that used to exist, that was not occupied, to remain there. It is impossible for the land that used to exist. It's not increasing. It still remains the same thing it was, 923,000 square kilometers. It has not increased. And so, but human activities, schools, settlements, markets, roads, and several other things have taken over land. So it is impossible to talk about open grazing and allow Fulanis to cohabit with people. So the best practice is ranching, and this is what we have done. And the federal government is turning a blind eye to supporting ranching program in Nigeria. They are using this also to perpetuate evil and crime against humanity back home. So these are things I think if we put pressure on the federal government and they listen to the international community, it will help to reduce some of these criminal things that are going on, the killings, the destruction of people everywhere.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think we want to get back to that later in the conversation. I know I would, about how to promote ranching and what you're supporting. But I'd like to, Commissioner Wolf, who has been to Nigeria several times and is very passionate about it. Would you like to ask a question or make a comment at this point?
Sure. Well, thank you, Nina, and I appreciate Nina having this. And
can't hear you.
I said, can you?
Yeah, no, I can.
I said I appreciate what Nina's doing and many of the articles that she writes about Nigeria. So I wanted to thank her. I also think the key word that she mentioned was diaspora. It's important to mobilize, Governor, the diaspora to really be very, very active. I was impressed, somebody from Virginia, somebody from New Jersey. And I think the key to dealing with this issue, particularly to mobilizing the administration, is up on Capitol Hill. New Jersey, you have Senator Booker. You should be going by and seeing Senator Booker. You have Senator Mendez, who's the leader on the Foreign Affairs Committee. You should be going by to see him. If you're from Virginia, you should be talking to Tim Kaine. If you're from Virginia, you should be talking to Mark Warner, who's the chairman of the Intelligence Committee. And so I think Capitol Hill is really almost your opportunity. President Biden is more influenced by what he hears from the Senate than almost any other president that we've had for a long period of time. President Trump didn't care what the Congress said. President Obama didn't really care what the Congress said. But since Senator Biden was a senator, President Biden was a senator, the Senate really motivates him. So I think the diaspora has to be contacting their senators, particularly Booker again, Mendez, Kaine, Senator Coons, if you have a diaspora in New Jersey. Senator Coons has worked in Africa. He has the ear of the president. What I think, and I'm only speaking for myself, I think you need a special envoy somebody who is over the ambassador, somebody who can speak directly to the president and somebody who can speak directly to Blinken. When the problem was going on in Southern Sudan, President Bush appointed Senator John Danforth to be a special envoy, and the press conference was held in the Rose Garden with President Bush on one side and Colin Powell, Secretary Powell on the other side, to send a message to the Sudanese and everybody in the region and our allies. This is our man. So I think you need a special envoy, and I think this should be something that the diaspora gets behind. I know how bad it is, so rather than saying over and over and over how bad, I see the stories. I can't believe it. I can't believe what's taking place. It is, and Nina has done probably the best job of covering it. But I think the next step is, what do you do? And I think you need a special envoy. Secondly, it is genocide. According to Genocide Watch, genocide by Boko Haram killed 27,000, maybe genocide, massacre by the Fulani militants. When the word genocide was used in Iraq, when ISIS was going after Christians and the Yazidis, once the word genocide was used, and to Rabbi Saperstein's credit, who was the ambassador then, and also to Secretary Kerry, when they used the word genocide, it changed the whole world. And so I think using the word genocide, a special envoy, who when a special envoy is appointed, that tells the Brits, you better work with this guy. That tells the UN, you better work with this person. And also, it isn't only the terrorism against particularly the Christian church, which is terrible. The number, there are 10 million students that are out of school. I've been in your IDP camps. I don't know what I would do if I were living there. I don't think I could do it. And so what you're going through, the hunger, the famine. So I think a special envoy calling this genocide, and back to what Nina said, the diaspora. How many Nigerians live in America? And so you should have a day where everybody comes into Washington and goes up to talk, particularly to their senators, because again, I close. Biden was in the Senate for 40 years and he listened to senators. If Biden got a note or a call from Senator Coons, from Senator Mendez, from Senator Booker, from Senator Kane, from Senator Warner, and somebody told me, and you would know, there's 20,000 Nigerians in Maryland. Well, you have Ben Cardin, who's on the Foreign Relations Committee. And so I think Nana's right. The diaspora has to be mobilized, and we can tell people how bad it is, but we want to tell them what you have to do in order to save all Christians are being persecuted terribly, but this would be good for all the people of Nigeria. And I want to thank the delegation and governor particularly. Thank you. God bless you. And thank you, Nina, for doing this.
Well, thanks for participating, Mr. Wolf. And yes, we do. I want to echo something that the Commissioner Wolf just mentioned, is that we do know the problem. We are following it. The word gets out. Doug Burton writes about it from the ground. And we're particularly very, very conscious of the Fulani, and it's a brick wall for us. We can't get the politicians to listen. We know that it's not just a ISIS, ISWAP, Boko Haram issue. It's the Fulani who are encircling. It looks like they're almost encircling the country. Everybody was shocked that they were in the Northwest, and before we know it, they're in the Southwest, and they're in the Central, Southeast, all over. So there you have it. And so this, we do know the problem, we understand it, and we are very frustrated because our politicians are not listening. And so that's where the diaspora comes in, I think. But Sean, would you like to? Oh, hi, Bob. We'll call on you next. Sean, do you want to raise some issues? You had something to say about maybe you could talk about the new nomination a little bit. Richard Mills.
No, I saw this came up earlier on, and Governor, thank you so much for being here. It's wonderful to listen to you and hear your voice. And we had the International Religious Freedom Summit just a couple weeks ago, and had many people from Nigeria, major topic there. Bishop Chu from Ondo State, who's at the diocese, was church in his diocese was attacked on Pentecost, and 50 Catholics there were just killed. That's it. He spoke powerfully at that moment, and I'd say Nigeria was either the top or one of the top topics there. And we were very fortunate that we had former Ambassador Sam Brownback, former USERF chair, Katrina Svet, he's the current ambassador for international religious freedom, Rashadi Singh, came and met with the Nigerians and the group that we had brought over there, which included many of the religious leaders in the country. So there's a huge amount of civil society support, I would say, especially, I mean, across the board on in the international religious freedom community here for these things, for policies like country of particular concern, right? You were talking about needing the U.S. to speak, and just mentioning Nigeria during a State Department report announcement or speech, that's not going to do it. I think everybody was shocked when that status got removed. The new ambassador nominee, I'm at least a bit concerned about because it did seem like there was some more interest since the lynching of Deborah Emanuel Ikubu, since the Owo massacre. Mariana had collected some information about how many priests have been kidnapped just since May 12th when Deborah was killed, and it's now probably over 30 have been kidnapped just in 2 months. Some have been killed, some were released, and some are still there. So it seemed, I think there were a number of statements, seemed like maybe something had kind of clicked at that moment, but the new ambassador seems to have been placed in a lot of different embassies as bits of placeholders compared to the current ambassador. Previous administration included Mary Beth Leonard, who was a real subject matter expert. So I think there's a concern there, but there's also an opportunity, right? Which is that the people in this room, people on this call, are subject matter experts on this, and for somebody who maybe doesn't have as much experience in Nigeria, it could be an opportunity to really push for this right now. Right? This is when decisions on CBC are being made. I think the response was so vociferous from last year. You have 5 senators just wrote a very good letter calling for the CBC designation. So I think that's a really important groundswell to make sure those things that at a minimum that U.S. voice is back in it, that it doesn't look like we're completely retreating from Nigeria. That doesn't look like we're just throwing up our hands and saying nothing's happening there. So thank you again for being.
Have you heard of this term, Governor, CPC, country of particular concern? It's something under Frank Wolf's International Religious Freedom Act. It's a short list of the world's worst persecutors. And Nigeria was put on it 2 years ago, and then it was taken off last year by the Biden administration. And the Biden administration said that religion, in later hearings, they said that religion really has nothing to do with this, and there's no persecution on the part of the government, missing the whole point that you made about the impunity with which this goes forward, these attacks. The government doesn't prosecute anybody or hold anybody accountable, punish anyone. And so I think that that's just been a step, the wrong signal to.
Because they are complicit. That is why they have refused to punish anyone. They are part of it.
It's tacit approval, at least you can say. It goes on over and over and over, this pattern. But we do have a new appointment of a nomination of an ambassador. There still has to be a confirmation hearings, and this person, as Sean just pointed out, his name is Richard Mills Jr., I think, and he is a member of the Foreign Service, and I don't think has any experience in Africa. But that signals to me, rather than being an opportunity, it signals to me, which I saw this in Iraq before, is that it's going to be a military policy, a policy made by the U.S. military. Our policy in Nigeria is going to essentially be made by the U.S. military and not out of AFRICOM or some other unit, but it's not going to be made out of the State Department. But Bob Destra, would you like to address that issue?
Sorry, I would love to see Sean. Maybe we can also speak about Magnitsky, Global Magnitsky Act. When we let Bob Destra speak first, that would be
Yeah.
great also.
Okay. And Bob, if you want to say anything about Global Magnitsky for, with or without CPC, go ahead.
Well, if you want me to, I'm happy to talk about that.
Wait, Bob, I should have introduced you. I'm sorry. Bob Destra is a law professor at Catholic University in town, but he was Assistant Secretary for Human Rights in the last administration and presided over the designation of the country of particular concern status when it was attached to the Buhari government. So go ahead, Bob.
Okay, thanks, Nina, for having this. And I'm going to see some of our participants tomorrow morning. We're going to have a little coffee tomorrow morning. So anybody who's interested in sitting in on that meeting is more than welcome. But I wanted to just talk about the politicians that Nina mentioned. And with due respect to Mr. Wolf, I should say Commissioner Wolf now, that he's absolutely right when he says, you need to be reaching out to the administration. But the fact of the matter is, having said, I was literally in the room when Secretary Pompeo made the designation of country of particular concern, and it is, Sam Brownback was there, Peter Pham was there, and we got, the staff was just adamantly opposed to it. And so what you're looking at is a State Department bureaucracy that controls hundreds of millions, actually maybe over $1 billion worth of assistance to Nigeria, that is completely opposed to even opening up the question of genocide. They don't want to talk about the Fulani. All they want to talk about is climate change, and so so I think Mr. Wolf is correct when he says that you have to be using your members of Congress to beat up the people at the State Department, and you have to do that not so much with the White House, but with the Secretary, and in particular with the Appropriations and Oversight Committees. I mean, just in the last couple of weeks, I've been involved with the committees and have been, suggesting gently to them that they take a more aggressive approach with the people at the State Department, and start holding some of that money hostage, because the people in state actually will tell you, they told me when I was Assistant Secretary, that there were certain things that were too sensitive for me to know about. So my reaction was, I'm the boss, I'm the person who signs the check. I have a higher security clearance than you do. And as an Assistant Secretary, I actually had the staff to get things done. One of my problems with a special envoy is, I think it's a great idea, but only if that person has a very close relationship with the secretary. That's you have to be able to pick up the phone and call the secretary and say, get these people out of my way. But if you're wondering why we had such a debacle in Afghanistan, that's foreign policy run by a bureaucracy. And so anyway, those are that's what I had to say. But I'm happy to be a guide through the maze of the bureaucracy to anybody who's interested.
Rusty, would you like to respond to anything that's been said so far?
Yeah.
I'm sure there are other questions, but go ahead.
Yeah. I think the issue of special envoy is something that we think we also support and help what is going on in our country. And several people have talked about climate change and the war in Libya and all those ones. But as someone on the ground, I'm here to debunk that claim that that is what is responsible. Because as of today, why is it that the Igbos, the Yorubas, the federal government goes after them? And even those with cutlasses, they are arrested. Bow and arrow, they are arrested. But why is it that the Fulanese, and they have not hidden their agenda over Nigeria? You will recall from history, the Fulanese were wandering all over the place, from one end of Africa to the other one. But in 2006, they decided that they are going to make Nigeria to become their own country. All of them met in their spiritual headquarters, which is Yola, the headquarters of Adamawa State. And they concluded that Nigeria must be their country by force, and they have issued press statement and say that those who want to accept the agenda, we have no issue with them, but anyone that resists will be in for it. And that is why for a vocal voice in the position of a governor that decided to work with the people who have been oppressed and killed and their homes destroyed, have been targeted 7 good times. Assassination attempts have been done on my life. And the last one, I personally took it up, reported to the president, and he said the security agencies should investigate. And they investigated and arrested Fulani men, 13 of them. And no one is facing any form of prosecution as of today. They have been freed and so on. So that is the level of what is going on. And so the challenge is a deliberate one by this government. And of course, in 2014, when I was minister with President Jonathan Goodluck, we persuaded him that please, this Boko Haram matter, can you find a way of negotiating with them and asking them what is the meaning of Western education is saying? That is the meaning of Boko Haram. And he offered to see if they can dialogue. Boko Haram appointed Buhari, who was then aspiring to be president, as their chief negotiator. And so Boko Haram, ISWAP, ISIS, and Fulani herdsmen are the same, they are working on the same program, sponsored by Saudi Arabia, by Qatar, and by Turkey. Turkey is the anchor person for Islamizing the entire Africa. But Nigeria is seen as if they are able to get over with it, they will succeed very easily with the other African countries so that it will become an Islamic continent. That is all that they are doing. But the main agenda of the Fulanis, they decided that they're all over Africa. So let them come and settle in Nigeria and make it to become their country. Even as I talk to you, right now, I am a member of the opposition party, the People's Democratic Party. That I was elected in 2015 on the platform of All Progressives Congress, that is APC. That is the ruling party today with 22 governors. In my party, we have 13 governors. I chose to do this because of the injustice that was seen happening. And after persuading, pleading, and making inroad into the federal government, and they were adamant. and the agenda is clear, and they have not hidden it. The Fulanis have said, this is what we want. We want to take over Nigeria as our own country. They have written it. There are press statements to this fact. So the issue of climate change is just a way of shielding them from the evil that they are trying to commit. But like I said, Nigeria in 1950, the total landmass was 923,000 square kilometers. It is the system today, but even less because we ceded part of Nigeria during Obasanjo's regime to the Cameroons. So we have less land, and the population have overgrown to over 200 million compared to what it was in 2050. So what is wrong? If these Fulani men that are killing people in the names of grazing over the land of Nigeria, why can't they also accept ranching as the global best practice? If you go to Abuja, for some of you have been there, you see cattle all over the place. That is the headquarters of Nigeria. And this was not happening during President Goodluck Jonathan's administration. But since a Fulani man is president, they decided that they would do that deliberately and have it. So this is the point. So the issue of special envoy, if it's achievable, it will help because we have direct access and make that. But I want to also commend the first speaker about the charge he gave to the Nigerians in diaspora. I am saying the same thing because yes, you can live in your comfort zone here in America, but one day you will need to go back home. And so there is every need, and I'm happy with the Igbos veteran, American veteran of Igbo descent who has served this country. I'm happy with what they are doing, and I want them to do more. Reach out to others, not just Igbo descent, others who have served this country or who are here, so that together we can work this together. Back home, I seem to be the lone voice. No governor dare speak on behalf of the people. I have done it at the risk of my life. I have written my will because I know what the Fulanis do. And if the day God permits that I die, I'm ready for it. I'm not ready to die, but if God permits I die, that will be okay. 7 attempts on my life. So I think it is something, the take home from this meeting is a very big challenge to our people in the diaspora. I might not necessarily need to come here, but they who are here and have the history of what is happening back home have the opportunity to put it to the American government, put it to the American people, so that we can change the narrative. As I talk to you, even in the international outing, all the key responsible positions are manned by the Fulanis. The Amina, who is from Nigeria, is a Fulani woman. And specifically, she's there to prosecute an agenda and has been blocking a lot of issues so that it doesn't get to the international community. When you ask them, they talk about climate change, they talk about the war in Libya, in Mauritania, and all that is coming. But the real agenda, it is what I have said. Thank you for listening.
Your Excellency, could you explain there's an initiative that about ranching that you have sided with. I think it's a legislative initiative or it's a proposal. Can you explain what that is? And I think there's a number of governors that are behind it as well. 20
Yes.
some. Can you explain that just briefly?
Yeah, the ranching was my initiative in 2016 when we tried to mediate and try to bring the Fulanis and the people together, and it failed. And so we said, well, as people who believe in the rule of law, let us look for something that the people themselves will know their do's and don'ts. And so we initiated that process. We enacted a law in my state. Other states, Taraba State, for instance, followed me. But somehow he was intimidated and he withdrew from me. But I am implementing that law. Today, the law is very effective. We have arrested over 460 Fulani herdsmen, and we prosecuted them. We are prosecuting some. About 200 have been convicted. The rest are undergoing trial. And we have arrested over 20,000 heads of cattle. And everyone we have to pay a fine. We quarantine them. And when you pay fines, we release them to you and warn you not to come back again. But when you come, you are arrested. But this thing was not so pronounced in the southeast, in the southwest, and so on. But last year, because of the incessant attacks against the southeast, the southwest, and all that, they all came together and also decided that every state in the south, the entire south, southeast, southwest, should enact the same law that I did in 2016, and that they have done, so as to stop free movement of cattle anyhow, and so on. So some have enacted, but are not implementing it. Now back to ranching. We have experimented it. I am a farmer. I am into ranching. I have not much, but 500 heads of cattle. They are confined in one place. And we provide feeding. And that again has provided several opportunities for other vulnerable people. Those who bring grass, those who bring waste from harvest, rice, straw, and chaff, and all that. We buy them and feed the cattle, and people make money from that. And this is what we're trying to let the people know. And of course, ranching is not a new thing in America, you know. In India, you have close to 300 million heads of cattle. But because they are ranching, you don't have this kind of problem. In Brazil, over 200 million too. You have no problem of people having to fight with herders and all that. So ranching, as I said, remains the best global practice as is being observed in America here and elsewhere. And so things are working as well.
Yes. Okay, thank you. And I understand His Honor would like to say something.
Thank you. Governor, thank you. And the congressman who spoke earlier. We have, I'm from New Jersey, the mayor of Woodland. We have approached our senator on this issue. There are about 70-something pages of documentation of letters with pictures of people killed in different way, different manner, raping, and all that kind of stuff that we handed it over to our senator. But because of the relationship that we have with the England, and also through our current ambassador, there's nothing they can do about it. And even to make a press conference, I asked, nothing was done. Even to my local county, state senator, nothing was done. Now, if there is a way you guys can allow the special envoy, I think that can might end the current ambassador and be able to do something. I'll bring this to light to other people to know what's going on. But if we're still sitting there trying to do stuff with the current ambassador we have there, nothing actually.
Nothing will happen.
At this time, I would like to leave you guys. I thank you. I appreciate you all. God bless you. And Governor, yeah, I'll be praying for you.
Very well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Nice picture.
All right, Mayor, thank you for your.
Thank you so much. Be in touch.
Okay, we can continue.
Okay. I just wondered if anyone else who's joining us remotely, if you'd like to ask a question. And I want to respect everybody's time, so maybe if you have a question, make it brief and introduce yourselves very briefly.
Susan.
Okay, hi, my name is Susan Mount. I am an American-born, raised citizen. I'm a healthcare worker. I'm very concerned about what's going on over there because I'm a stakeholder here in the US as well as all of you. Nigeria is not a democracy. It's a democracy in hiding. There's 11 states that have turned Sharia law, and our own State Department knows that they are forgiving Boko Haram terrorists. That would be like us forgiving the 9/11 terrorists and setting them free. And there's no one on ground to watch these terrorists. And just like Afghanistan, Nigeria is the hotbed of terrorists. There's 7 terrorist groups, with the Fulani terrorists answering to Al-Qaeda and the Boko Haram terrorists answering to ISIS and the ISWAP. So their aim through their own mouths is to take over West Africa because they answer to Middle Eastern terrorists. It's not just they woke up one morning in Africa and said, I'm going to be a terrorist. And think about it. If they take over the West portion, there is only the Atlantic Ocean between us and them. And not only that, I mean, we can go on and on about what's going on over there, but if you Google, they have a pattern of using military weapons, the government, against innocent civilians. There is a pattern of accidental bombings. If you go and Google it, you will see story after story of these so-called accidental bombings by the Nigerian Air Force. They are slowly slaughtering people and they are taking over government. This is what Middle Eastern terrorists brag about. They manipulate democracy. They tell you what you want to hear, just like our US ambassadors and State Department, to get in higher positions, and that's when they strike. And it is terrible. Our own US ambassador, Deborah, a Christian, slaughtered, stoned to death, and set on fire. There was the National Mosque in Abuja, the same mosque that Ambassador Leonard went and accepted a Quran in. The same imam said that the killing of Deborah was justifiable. It's justifiable to stone somebody and light somebody on fire. And what the rumor now on ground, because I studied Nigeria and I speak to people on ground, unlike the ambassador does. I guess we have to do our job for her since she's not doing it herself. The rumor on ground is the Nigerian government's getting so desperate because people in the Southeast and the Southwest are rising up. And I'm sorry, if terrorists were being forgiven and brought to my community and stealing property and slaughtering people left and right and burning churches down, and the government does nothing, I would want to stand up too. So
Deborah, thank you very much.
I'm
I want
Susan.
to give other people, Susan. Okay. I want to give other people a chance to talk as well. Is there anybody else on the internet that's on the remote Zoom call that would like to speak up? If so, just quickly make your statement. Okay. Anybody in the room? Okay. Doug, why don't we start here with you?
Governor Ortom, thank you for your strong statements and for taking a position of thought leadership in Nigeria. So I report for several publications for Catholic News Agency. We're very interested in the Bishop of McCurdy's report. I'm sure you've seen it. And also we report for the Epic Time, which is a secular newspaper. So could we ask you to look ahead 4 years? We've got elections in 8 months. Can you tell us what Nigeria is going to look like in 4 years or 5 years after this next election if the status quo continues? And the reason we're asking this question is many people have asked me more for 10 years, is Nigeria going to become another caliphate? Is it going to be a caliphate like what we saw in northern Iraq?
Sorry, Doug, I would want the situation after this meeting, you can interview His Excellency either tomorrow, like I've told you, so that we don't, that question should be answered, maybe of not
Extensively.
Yes, extensively. In your interview, you requested. Is that okay?
Yeah, we'd love to do it. I'll take that.
Yeah, so I already told you
Okay,
that.
I see, I see my colleague, James Barnett, has his hand up. Go ahead, James. Can you?
Yeah, hi, Nina.
Yes, hi, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I'm in a kind of crowded area because I'm in transit. So if you hear Sunny Ade behind me, I apologize. So yeah, so hi. So I'm James Barnett. I'm a research fellow at the Hudson Institute, and I've been based in Nigeria for the past year and a half. I've done field work in about 15 states now, including some extensive work in Benue State. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Governor Ortom, for joining us today. In the interest of avoiding being one of those guys at a think tank event, I'm going to, my comments is very long, but I'm going to abbreviate that and then lead into my question. My comments is essentially that while I agree with a lot of what has been discussed today, I think I am probably a dissenter here. Insofar as, while I agree that the State Department makes a lot of mistakes, I agree that climate change is often overhyped as an explanation for violence in Nigeria. I agree that impunity is one of the major challenges that Nigeria faces today. I strongly push back against this idea of Fulanization for two main reasons. One being that the primary challenge that I think Nigeria faces today is total state collapse. Insofar as there are so many, you're talking about a country of over 200 million people, there are so many different groups and individuals who have grievances, and it's just become so easy for them to acquire military hardware and exact their vengeance in whatever way they want to. And so very often we see that actually much of the violence in this country is not contributed solely or the work solely of Fulani. I was just in the South region for a week. I was nearly kidnapped by a pirate. If you talk to people there, they don't talk about Fulani herdsmen. They talk about the different rivalries between gangs, between cults, between all that stuff. So I push back partially for that reason, that there's a tremendous amount of violence and challenges that Nigeria faces beyond the Fulani herders issue, which I do agree is an issue in some ways. But, you know, to quote Burna Boy, you know, wahala deo, right? There are many challenges in Nigeria today. And so I think that reducing it is a problem. The second point being, and this is really where I get passionate, so I will try to skip this point very quickly, Nina, and get into my question. The second point being that I think that the Fulani are in fact an incredibly divided people. And so one of the reasons I push back against this idea of Fulanization is because if you look at particularly the pastoralist subset of the Fulani, you know, their traditions are rooted in this source of kind of in-group solidarity that has a very small limit, if you think about it. And so a lot of my work has been on the bandits in Zamfara and the Northwest. There are over 100 gangs operating up there, and they spend most of their time killing each other, killing their fellow Fulani, rather than fighting the government, rather than fighting other civilians in the area. I did a very extensive report. If anyone's actually interested in the relationship between Boko Haram and the bandits in the Northwest, I did a very extensive report based on a year of field work in which I risked my ass more than a few times to meet some of these guys, to meet some of these bandits in the bush, to meet some of these Boko Haram defectors. And the report details how the bandits and Boko Haram, more often than not, have actually fought each other rather than worked together, because they have very different views. If you ask a bandit about Boko Haram, even if you ask a bandit, I asked one of the bandit warlords about Usman Danfodio. He said, he's an Al-Majri, I'm an Mzebu. He says, those guys, they all care about their Islam. I don't care about religion, I just care about my cattle. So I do want to include that point. I know I'm going over, but I do want to include that point quickly because I think it's very important to recognize that the Fulani are a very big, diverse group with a lot of competing interests among the Fulani. And so I don't think it's right to kind of simplify it to this question of the Fulani as a monolith have this religious agenda, when in fact I think many of the bandits in the Northwest, who are admittedly Fulani, are primarily doing this for commercial gain. I also think it's very important to recognize that many of the bandits operating outside the Northwest are not Fulani. You know, with respect to His Excellency, by the admission of his own security officials in Benue State, the most notorious militant in Benue in the past decade has been that man Ghana, who was killed in 2020 operating on the Sankara axis. And he was a chief man. And you have the chief, you have the Jukun, you have the Irigwe, all of them have their own band.
Okay.
And so even this question.
Okay, James, did you have a question?
Can I?
Yeah.
Can I respond to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I think it's very important to let this audience know that that is why I'm here today. I'm coming from UK to America and the same narration is being said about what is happening in Nigeria, which is completely wrong. Maybe the people you saw when you were doing your research in Nigeria were wrong people, or they were the people who are perpetuating this evil against our people. I am telling you, I'm someone on the ground. I've been a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Now I'm governor. I just have 8 months to finish my second term. I'm a grassroots politician. I have been involved in trying to resolve this matter. This is another way of sending wrong and negative narration about what is happening. The truth is that there is no country, even in America here, that is free of criminals. We have criminals all over the place. You don't, if you had asked me, I would tell you, Ghana was a making of the Fulanis. And I will make my research, send video to Stephen to send to you what Ghana said. It was translated in English, so you will understand it. Ghana was brought by Fulanis to destabilize Benue State. And he confessed this himself. The only departure from the Fulanis was that they did not give him enough money, what he bargained for. They did not give him. That was what he retreated and went back and started terrorizing the people in Benue State. Yes, I admit, whether in the southeast, southwest, or south-south, there are criminals, there are criminal elements. But we are saying that what is happening today, if you go to the southeast, any kidnap incident that takes place is Fulani. Recently, the prelate of Anglican Methodist Church was kidnapped. He came out and confessed, and the Fulanis told him while he was in their custody that we are here to take over Nigeria. We need more money to buy arms. And they collected 100 million. That is about $200,000.
$225,000.
They collected 100 million naira from him before he was freed. And go to the southwest, it is the Fulanis. Come back to North Central, it is the Fulanis. And what they are doing is they are recruiting some of the vulnerable indigenous people who live there with peanuts. They paid them money. We have arrested some of them who confessed that they were given guns and told to kill, and if we kill, this is how much we'll pay you. So this is what is going on. But the bottom line is what I've said, and the Fulanis themselves have not hidden it. They have accepted that what they are doing is occupation agenda. So I'm surprised, but I think the wrong people that I interviewed gave you that information. I want to tell you that it is not so. The Fulanis have confirmed, and they have not denied it. They have Meyatiala Cotton Hore, they have Meyatiala Makban, they have Fulani Nationality Movement. They have issued press statement. The last assassination attempt on me, after 2 hours, a press statement was issued by Fulani Nationality Movement stating that they just missed me today because of a little technical communication error, but they are going to get me. Whether in my house, in my office, on the road, anywhere I go around the world where they are going to get me. So it is not that I am talking about hearsay. I'm talking of reality on ground. It is what we are facing, is what I am into it. And so that is where we are. But I want to let you know that the Fulanis are a very crafty set of people. And they can go an extra mile to deceive and cover up their sins so that it will be shifted to somebody else, not themselves. Even Sultan is a spiritual leader. Sultan of Sokoto is the spiritual leader of the Muslims. Himself confirmed and confessed that for every kidnap, if there are 10, 8 of them are Fulanis. He made this statement, he confirmed it himself, he accepted that, yes, the Fulanis are responsible for the insecurity that is going on, and the government of today is complicit, is not doing enough to disarm these people and bring peace in Nigeria.
Son, you had a meeting with him. You organized a meeting with him 2 weeks ago here in Washington.
Yeah,
when I
it
was
from a representative. He was at the Earth Ministerial. We had a meeting with them. That was what I was talking about earlier, between the president of the Christian Association of Nigeria and Sokoto. And we had them sign. They drafted a declaration raising a lot of particular issues, condemning violence based on religion, ethnicity, some other things, which was important. But there was definitely still significant gulfs between both of those parties for their views on things. And certainly this issue is one of the major gulfs.
well, he was threatened too after Deborah's lynching.
He was one of the first people to make a very real strong statement, especially from the.
He was threatened himself. But I've often found that in times of genocide, it's a subset of a larger conflict, or it happens amidst conflict, or it's taken conflict and a war are taken advantage of to wipe out a target. And we saw that in Iraq very clearly. We saw it in World War II in Nazi Germany as well. Yeah. So you can have chaos, you can have different bad actors, and it can still amount to a targeted persecution of a particular.
Sorry, Nina, I would like to make some comment. Like International Committee on Nigeria, like most of us know, one, we are talking about, because I'm looking at what will really move the needle to get us result. Yes, His Excellency, with our colleagues, Richard in the UK, you were able to change even the narrative, which was really great. Not engaging has actually gotten us to this. Now, we actually are thinking, and that is what we are doing, that for the international community to understand what is happening in Nigeria, and also to be able to gain some traction in what we are doing. One, we are not joking with documentation, because we need documentation of this egregious atrocity committed against Nigerians and her people to be properly documented. And also, we are also talking about the issue of, you document, and also we are talking about US government, international community should understand also, having documented that there must be declaration that egregious killing actually happened because of this ABCD. Now, once it is declared, then we are also asking for deployment, special international instruments. You talk about Magnitsky Act for state actors, non-state actors. You talk about prosecution of these war criminals, and then we begin to look at that. So these actually are important instruments that can be deployed when the ABC is done. So my take here is that we Nigerians, especially American of Nigeria descent, we are complacent. We complain, and we have huge opportunity to transform a lot of things. Yes, Governor Ortom, thank God that he's one of 2 years ago, he was here on our invitation. And again, he has to squeeze time to be here again, having spent more than 1 week in London engaging. So all of us who are agitating, all we need to do is to mobilize. I was in Houston, we were even in Nebraska to mobilize Nigerians. But the truth of the matter is that we have to tell ourselves the truth. The truth is that if we go the route of ethnicity, tribalism here, we won't get anything done. So we need to begin to mobilize our people around these issues first, and begin to even put pressure, because we vote in a different district here in the United States. We are citizens, and then we just have to help even our friends like Nina, like Congressman Wolf, Assistant Secretary, and everybody present here. So we have that responsibility. So for me, I'm not looking at discussing and discussing. I'm looking at mobilizing the grassroots here in the United States, and we can actually create that momentum to be able to get the result and help even our friends and allies who are helping us across. So that is what I would like to say, because sometimes we talk too much on all of these problems, but these are the steps to get our, yeah.
I had wanted one thing to say, but I want to yield to my good friend, John Craig. He just joined. John, please, can we have a word with you? He was supposed to be here with me. So he's on Zoom. There you go.
My greetings to the entire committee. I wasn't sure what time this meeting was going to start. I had many other things cooking, and I happen to have 10 grandchildren that my wife and I keep track of during the day. So I had to break free from that to make time for this. But this is super important. And from the 10 minutes I've been linked in, Mr. Annetta is really right on the money. He's saying the right stuff. I've been connected with the southern region of Nigeria now for 15 years. I used to run R&D for Kraft Foods, and so I'm quite networked globally. We're doing a lot of economic things, but because of the violence and the genocidal activity going on in that country, I can't attract any investor to come and help us out. I mean, this thing, it's not only genocidal, it destroys the economy. The place is in a lot of trouble because of what's going on. And I think all the points that are being made are the kind of things that need to be paid attention to, and something needs to be done about it. So that's all I wanted to include. Thank you.
Absolutely. Nigeria is the most important country and most important partner of the United States in Africa.
Absolutely.
And it acknowledges that, and why there is such indifference to this many facets of this violence that is tearing the country apart. I don't understand. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Coming from the victim's side and talking for a largely unrepresented people, I just want to ask a few questions across the room from what I've heard. And when I talk to when I represent millions of women and children and happy people who are living peacefully in their rural communities across from Benue, down straight to the southeast, to my area where are largely traders. These are happy people who are not looking for visas to come to America.
Yeah.
What do we know about climate change and people who come and desecrate our traditional shrines, rape our women, burn our farms, put cattle all over the place, and refuse to go, and sit on our heads and burn our churches and turn our lives upside down? For goodness sake, we living in the Southeast, we don't know the spelling of climate, and we don't know the spelling of change. And you report them to the police, and the police say, oh, we cannot do anything because they are the brothers of the president. And you catch them in the forest where they desecrate our shrines, rape our priestess, we take them to the police, and the next day they are released. And they come back to the community and say, you cannot do anything. We are going to take your land. We will kill you again. And then we don't have arms to defend ourselves. And this is the scenario that has happened all the time. And you say it is cow header. At a point, we passed community level decisions to say we no more eat the cows. So take your cows. And then the cows are sitting there and sitting there and sitting there everywhere. And everybody is afraid to act because of tacit complicity by government. It has destabilized lives. It makes our young people run away. Tomorrow you will not give them visas because they are running away and they have to run somewhere. And when people run, what is it in humans that you don't create a locus where they can live peacefully? Then they run. And then you guys will be at the brunt in some way or another, or at some point or another. But if you create the locus where they are happy, then why do they run? So it's not, the federal government of Nigeria is a lying, deception is a state policy, it's an instrument of state. So it's not any news that they deploy Takia as instrument of state policy. So please, these are realities on the ground. The governor is right. He is so right. It is not a question of semantics. It is a question of living horror on a daily basis. I normally ask people who sit across the table from me, I say, have you ever been raped by an urchin and by filth? Come on, this is real.
Yeah. Well, thank you, and I hope that you can provide us information, maybe through Stephen or to demonstrate these patterns of behavior that you're telling us about, and anything that would show a Fulani directive or organization, or I have the press conference, the press statement of the Methodist bishop, who clearly said what his attacker said to him, that we are Fulani and we're going to come back and kill you all, and this is our land. So any statements like that, examples, high-level profile examples like the governors of impunity where he is attacked, and it's very important from our perspective to have examples of that. That the attackers last March 2021 were arrested, they were identified, arrested, and then let go. That is extremely important for us to have, and more examples of that as well, to push this case and refute the notion that there isn't anything to this. There isn't any complicity, there isn't any organization, there isn't any plan, or goal. So final word.
One just little thing before we close.
Yeah.
A situation where people who have vehemently sworn that Western education is bad, they go about killing people with impunity.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, the government says, we have pardoned them. Pardoning them is just not telling them you can't go here. They recruit them into the military. Mm-hmm. The same people, and allow them to go to a certain ethnic groups, mm-hmm. round up guys who are flying flag, mm-hmm. Biafran flag, for example, mm-hmm. round them up in hundreds and kill these guys. And we are addressing these things and calling it fanciful name.
Yeah.
That is genocide. We can't continue to say it's not happening. It's happening. We are crying, we are begging for the world to see these things. These guys are not just killed and thrown to the roadside. They are loaded in trucks and buried in unmarked graves. Their parents don't ever see them again. Young boys who have not married, who are not up to 20 years or 20 or not up to 30, you are killing generations. If that is not genocide, I want somebody to define what genocide is. Is it when everybody of certain ethnicities are all wiped out, and this guy goes and he sees an empty village occupied by the same people who came from other places before he identified? We are on the ground and we are crying. We are talking about it. He can come there and tell the governor that he hasn't experienced what he has experienced. Now, my recommendation, when we set up this envoy, let him not go to Lagos and Abuja and come back to America and then recommend that we didn't see Fulani. Yes. Let him go, let that person be given opportunity to interview the local women who plant their things, certain crops.
Let him come with his own interpreters so that he will not say that anybody
like
told him.
3 years to mature, and all of a sudden, thousands of cows will come and eat up all those things. What do you call that? First, they are denying you the opportunity of livelihood. They are making you dependent on whoever is important that thing, which is not us. Who is doing those things? Aliens, they fly in by night and do these things and escape. Or is it the natives that are bringing cows to eat their crops? These are things that should be seen. They are telltale signs. We shouldn't be addressing it fancifully. That is genocide. That is my point.
Yes, please have the last word.
Thank you very much. enjoyed this, and it was good for my brother to also give his own side of what he thought after visiting for a few days. But if he had come to Benue State, I would have taken him to those places to prove to him what we are saying. We're on ground, and I'm a Christian. I don't tell lies. As I said, I'm the only outspoken governor in Nigeria on this matter of occupation and Fulanization and Islamization. Other people are afraid. I am not, because my hands are clean. Others are not. And so they cannot afford EFCC, which is the anti-corruption agency, will go after you. EFCC came after me in 2018. I took them to court and I defeated them. And the court awarded 100 million naira to me because I did nothing. And so my parting was, please, for you and brothers and sisters who are listening to me over America, I want to appeal that this is a challenge to all of us. It is not just to Nigerians. It is to all of us, not just to the Nigerians in diaspora, but I'm quite supportive of the Nigerian in diaspora must rise up and do better than what they are doing. A couple of them are doing it, but they need to do better. They can do better. And I think my take home for them here is they can do better. Because you can't fold your arms when charity begins at home. You cannot allow others to take the center stage when you're standing at the back, when it is you who is affected directly. But the point, again, I want to make is that Nigeria is very strategic with position. We have economic ties with even America, and we have several ties with America. And allowing Nigeria to disintegrate or allowing it to become a country of lawlessness and chaos, there will be security issues that will affect the security of even America. That will affect,
it's unthinkable.
yeah, that will affect the economy of not just America and the security of not just America, but other parts of the world. The international community generally will be affected because a population of over 200 million is a big challenge. And so I want to say that let us take up this matter very seriously, because the people who are bringing pains to us are not denying what I have said here. They have agreed, they have owned it, they have accepted it. They have issued press statements. So I'm very surprised. And I feel very pained. And this will encourage me to do more. I'm ready to come here as many times, and there is need for me to come and clarify certain issues. I'm ready to come because the narrative that is out in the international community, it is the same thing I saw in UK. I'm coming to hear this. I'm very, very dumbfounded. I'm surprised. I'm really taken aback because I live with pains. I can't sleep for 1 hour without waking up because of the pains I have gone through these 6 years. Continuously, as I said, even yesterday, 5 people who went to the farm were killed by these same people. And shooting them and killing them was not enough. They had to use their sword to cut off their heads, cut off their parts, and threw them anyhow. And the reason is so that anybody coming to see it will be afraid to confront the Fulanis. This is what I face every day. My own house was razed down. by the same Fulanis in the village. 53 people were killed in one day on that day. The same Fulani men, and they claimed responsibility. So how can somebody come here and tell me that you went to Nigeria? Which part of Nigeria did you go? Are you trying to justify what you got or what? I mean, it is unfair to those people, the blood of those people that died, thousands of them. And for you not to go to Abuja, go to Lagos, go to Kano, go to urban places where Fulanis are and hear from them without hearing from us. No. Where is it is not correct. You have not done a good job. And so this thing, yes, today you can be in your comfort zone. You left Nigeria, you're back in America. You will not have what is happening there. But tomorrow it may not be the same. Like somebody said, it's just the ocean that is dividing us. People will find their way to this place and then create problems. So it is our responsibility to try to restore peace. Because I talk to you, Boko Haram, Iswa, ISIS, all those terrorists terrorizing Nigeria are working for the same agenda. And their target is not just Nigeria, it is not just Africa. It's also the international community. The man that blew up the 9/11 episode, is it not somebody from the Middle East?
Bin Laden.
Bin Laden. Is somebody from the Middle East. So their target is here. It's not just us. So we must join together to ensure that we eradicate these terrorist activities that are going on. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Your voice is very important, and we have work to do.
Thank you very much.
And thank you all for coming.
Yeah, do you want guys to take picture?
Why not?
Yes.
The recording has stopped.